Sorry, guys, I was watching some of the Chinese response because I think all eyes are on China. We did see a nice move to the upside, a nice 30-minute divergence to really help us out with that. But the 2-hour chart is still negative. We got to be aware that there is still risk that there could go down. But as we have seen such a strong move, it is very, very difficult to do so. We do have the volatility levels to still do that, so we'll be paying attention. As of right now, we see that the market is overall coming to the downside, which makes total sense when you take into consideration our weekly expected moves, right? Our 68% zone would say that overall the market by Friday has the highest probability to close right in this area. We'll see how things change. Now, there are some levels that I want to be paying attention to. Those levels being 528.91, our daily expected move. We will be watching for that. But just below that, down towards this 523.70, might come into play as very, very important. 523 to 524 is what I would overall say there, maybe with a flat 524. That would be a great area to come back down into to retest to go higher. If you break through that, though, this is a big candle here with not a lot of chop in it, right? Not a lot of chop. So big candle here. So if you start to see a sell come in around that area, we might be looking all the way down towards our 95% line at that point. So really, we're looking for something mediocre to turn us back up. The 30-minute crossing would be kind of by the center line, so it adds the possibility to go down to these type of levels. But for the time being, this would need some dramatically bad news to wipe out all of this. We would need dramatically bad news. As of right now, China's not coming to the table, right? China did not come to the table yesterday, and it's still proved to be that people were happy with the overall pause and going down to those 10% because that's what people really wanted, I think. So we're watching what's going on. Something that would be interesting, how this could dip down to lower levels and not get all the way down into these lows, are the Qs, right? The Qs need a decent amount of room to go test maybe that monthly expected move. So I'm looking at almost like a little zone right here for the Qs, and I'll be watching this because that is where the 5-day moving average is as of right now. That could adjust at the open, but this would be a nice area for us to pull back to. But first, we got to see if we can get outside of that daily expected move. Remember, if we get outside of the daily expected move, the percentages for the day change, but we got to see how much time you actually have for that to fall back down. As of right now, for the 5-minute chart, you see that we have divergence on the RSI. This is almost like squeeze-like behavior, right? If this would have gapped up, that would have been your squeeze behavior starting right there. So at this moment, though, you do have divergence here, suggesting that we can get a 15 or a 30-minute pullback, right? 15-minute pullback maybe down into here. 30-minute pullback might take you down even deeper, so we'll be watching. As of right now, for volatility, we have seen the 30-minute curl up. How does this get really worse? How this actually gets worse is we actually see an upside move early on in the day, and then we create some kind of divergence here for the VIX. The VIX can be a great hint for that. Good, my mic is on, I think. Let me make sure. I hate when I start talking and I don't check if my mic's on, but this is what I want to be watching for the time being. Some kind of look like this. Now, we could see an upward move first before all of this. This can be very complex. You still have very high levels. You are above 20 for volatility. So if we wanted to see an extended move up towards this area, and then we see that pull down, we can see that divergence later on, right? We can see this MACD get a little higher up, see if a divergence forms. But most of the time, we will see that when a big thrust like that comes in, you will get some kind of rigorous bounce. We'll look out for lower highs and things like that. But if this goes up and turns down and we never come back up, right? We never see that bounce back up for volatility. We might have ourselves a good recipe for a squeeze, which I believe you do have the recipe for a squeeze right now. The 5-minute chart here, not looking like too much to go off of as of right now for volatility. The SPY, though, we see those divergences on the RSI as well. So it looks like 30-minute pullback looks to be the most probable thing. Do we see one of those times where we see some kind of move in the morning and we kind of just sit and then a decision is made down or up, right? And that's why we'll be watching this level very, very seriously, that 523 to 524 area. All right, guys, good morning. What's up, Monumental Steve? How you doing? Fennel, how's it going? Monumental again. Next level, good morning, William. Good morning, Steve, again. Embrew. Women's body parts that we like. Finn, thank you for joining us this morning. And Steve O, not Steve again, Steve. You're not going to get it a third time, all right? Steve O, good morning. Big spiking, but it has a wall to break. Hope it don't. And we go green. Definitely going to be interesting. It will be. And volatility still has some room there. Volatility has to move. Now, when do you know that this is a little bit worse? Look at the 2 hour by the center line. Okay, this is more your warning sign. And volatility most likely will react before the actual market, right? You could even potentially say, like on the SPY, I think we said the 2 hour coming down would be bad. Well, you extend that out to an hourly, you see a story there. You can follow that a little bit tighter as far as managing risk goes. Bob, Bob. Okay, Bob. Good morning. Dimitri, hello. Good morning. Marcus, good morning. Ember, do you think yesterday's reaction was a bit euphoric and true data will settle in today? Well, let's go over the data, right? Let's look at the data because you would say that in this environment still where people are worried about inflation, well, then you would want to see that CPI come down. 0.2, 3.1. Those are the two numbers we really care about. Did they come in lower? Yes. So right away, 2.8, 0.1. What's the surprise here? Core inflation rate month over month came down. They expected it to go up. Core inflation rate year over year was supposed to go down by 0.1. It went down by 0.3. So we see how this is a lot of good things actually here as far as the core inflation rate does go. Right? This is very, very nice. But we're not necessarily seeing the most positivity from that just yet. Right? If we pull over to the futures here, and something we can do if we're going to keep squeezing is also just curl up on a like 30-minute in the futures. This is why you can see this level right here, very, very important, of about 5260. Oh, looks like we got the fire alarm. She's making bacon or something. Well, give us one moment here, guys. Wifey burned some bacon. Oh yeah, we're all good. I'm the breakfast maker around here. I'm the better one at breakfast, okay? I'm the breakfast guy around here. Let me take a big old swig of the coffee, and then we'll get back into it. As of right now, does that look crazy selling right now in the futures? Not really. Not really, it doesn't. So something we'll look for is a trap at the end of the week, right? Trap at the end of the week would be interesting. But for the time being, this doesn't look like really the worst type of selling in the world, right? This kind of looks pretty much controlled. So I'm not too convinced that this has to be a super negative thing. I do see that if a 2 hour curled down, we would be in a more pullback type of mode. So if you're able to curl up early on today, we'll watch for those divergences, maybe even in the futures. But for the time being, you can see that come down to even 5,200. And if that gives up a lot of this bar here, well, then you could go all the way back down to like this 5,000, 5,025 level. So these things will really help us out. We'll pay attention to it, but the key thing here is positioning of the MACD. Going down to these type of levels is going to be very difficult. Retesting breakout with the amount of volatility we have, yeah, it's possible. But I think they want the IV to get soaked up here. I don't think they're going to just flash this thing down again because then volatility remains. I think we're going to see some ping-ponging around for a bit, and then we're going to head possibly in that upward direction, right? This is very, very good news, and people more were reading into the pause than they were reading into the reaction from China. But if China would actually react positively, aka make a deal with us in some way and make things a little bit better for us, then that would be a good thing. So we'll keep an eye out. The unfortunate thing is you're still a news-driven media. So what was the last piece of news we got? What was the reaction to the last piece of news we got? Oh, the reaction was very, very good. So until we see really bad news, we won't necessarily be able to go, oh yeah, this is going to get really bad really fast, right? If anything, if people are reading into China and we don't get any updates on China and and you're seeing in the media, China, 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 and we're pulling down, I mean, I just wouldn't really dig into that too far because the good news already printed here, and we saw like a crazy amount of money come into the market yesterday, a crazy amount, and nobody wanted to sell on that. Look at that, that's all a buy. That's like a heavy, heavy buy there. I'm sure people tried to short it on the way up, and we can see that from the PCC. We'll see if that remains. But for the time being, most probable thing, a 15, 30-minute pullback. We can see that very, very well from looking at the futures market, maybe extending that to an hourly chart. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here today. And we are going to hopefully be doing some good things, but it's nice. We can look back at this, right? The good part about this is we can look back at this and we can be this guy. Are we appreciative that we were being this guy? Are we appreciative that we're still this guy because of this purple line? Because down here we're going, right? Buy our 95% line. Then we see that rapid move up and we're all happy, happy, happy. And then we get to this line and we go, this is where I might have to make a decision, right? Are you happy with that decision that you made yesterday so far? Right? Are you still waiting for that decision to be made? Are you needing to react soon? Right? These are the things that we need to have in our head before the day even starts. What is the plan for if things do go wrong? What if this hourly chart does cross down? Right? Can we take out these lows? Well, yes, you can. So we're hoping there's just a 30-minute, 15-minute pullback. But this guy here, he was like, yeah, I know squeeze is very possible, but just in case there's a little pullback because that was a pretty rigorous move. It's like a 10 to 11% move. Well, just because of that, I'm just going to go, okay, maybe it's not as good as it can be. I think that this is very possible. So maybe I'm going to hold on to those contracts, but I'm going to sell a lot here just to say, hey, that's great profit. That has to be great profit. I mean, look at the trade. So I hope we appreciate that we did that. You know, we're just thinking about the mental state of how we're going to treat things going forward. And thank you so much to the Patreon members who were able to catch that video I put out just about I think it was like 45 minutes or so before this big move happened or something, maybe an hour. Very, very nice. And then we got confirmation before, right? You had confirmation at that about 5:01. So very, very nice. But the skeptical guy in us goes, that's really, really strong, really fast. That's great profit. So I'm going to take some. I took a bunch of profit, right? I took all of AVGO. All of AVGO. I took all of it because I think AVGO needs to go retest some things. I think this is a 1, 2, bam, what a good move. Yeah, we can get a fifth wave or something like that. But for the time being, we kind of skipped some things up here, right? We skipped the fact that we might need to make that right shoulder. Now we made it early, almost like a cup and cup and handle, right? We came up towards that gap fill area, pulled down, boom, explosion to the upside. Maybe not cup and handle with the violation there. But we can notice here that did we create reversal signals here? No. But is volatility still high? Yes. So what can we do? Well, we can come down all the way into these areas for just a 30-minute pullback if this is going to remain very volatile. What you really want to see is this level right here hold, this 168. I would even give it this little box because we like this little white line, right? So if you come down into that area, that would be a great place to reload to head to the upside. But if that is confirmed down and starts to go negative, you have to wait, right? We got to make sure these things are curling back up. Maybe you see a little hint from your 5-minute chart. So AVGO, right? I already have a plan if I want to get back into this, right? I'm thinking probably 2 steps ahead, even 2 steps ahead in both scenarios. Hey, what's my reaction after I have to manage the trade? Hey, what's my reaction after I take profit, right? You're always thinking a little bit ahead because the ultimate goal for this is not to get to here. The ultimate goal for this is to start to get to here, right? That's the ultimate goal for this. So I'm looking at what's going on in here that can hint, are we going to do something like this, right? If you think this was the mega squeeze, that was just a taste. That was just a taste for AVGO, 18%. And I'm being genuine about that. I think that this has been built up for a very, very long time. And I think that any kind of downturn, people are going to think is completely sold off, and we could just see something brief. Let's pay attention to see what's proven in the charts. We have daily moves for today. Yes, I actually do have a picture for that if you want them in the bottom right corner. We will put those up because we like to click around a bunch. So boom, we will get those up on your chart. Okay, daily expected moves right down there for the SPY. That would be 557.37. The weird thing was, something was weird here. You see the closing price on the right was 548. But on the 30-minute, we see that the closing price was 543. So I did take it from 543, but on the daily, it doesn't have that wick in it. So something funky went on here. Now I do know that I did want to look at someone else's, right? I'm a free kind of guy. I like to save money. So I went and looked at someone who shows dark pool data, and they showed a massive dark pool right at this area. Is it a buy? Is it a sell? Well, you would assume after a 10% move to the high, it would be a sell. But if they're saying, hey, that's the news I was looking for, it's a buy, that would be very, very interesting. As of right now, we're heading in the downward direction. These things don't take effect like right away. We'll have to see how that plays out. I wouldn't mind a range into the end of the week. I really wouldn't. I would not mind a little 15-minute range or something like that going into the end of the week, right? We get some kind of rip down here, then we bounce back up, then we rip down, then we bounce back up, then we maybe rip down again. Maybe it's a little further to scare people out, and then we see something on Friday that says, hey, we are breaking through these type of levels. That'd be very, very nice. As we get lower in time, that's when I would rather break out of these moves. Yeah, that's when I would very much so rather break out of these moves. The expected moves, that is. So yeah, 528.91 to the downside. That's the one we're going to be paying attention to early on this morning. For the Qs, you have, I think the same problem happened with the Qs, if I'm not mistaken, 466, 465.04. So just kind of weird there. Weird little update with the price. 478.83 to the upside, 451.25 to the downside. Now, key thing is we're outside of this, right? We are outside of this. Now, we can use that as support, and look where we're going to right before we open up in 9 minutes. Like, we're right there. But if this needs to retest a key level, a lot of people would say this. A lot of people would say this, by the way. And it's most likely right? This line is very important. We know that, okay? But also, people are mainly going to pay attention to here and down to probably the breakout area here. Well, what is that? That's this whole candle, right? Everyone's paying attention to this candle, I think, right? That's what I really think for today. I think people are going to pay attention to what's the behavior at the top of this candle. If we lose the top of this candle, I think a lot of people would suggest, hey, we're going down to 422.30 for the Qs. The problem with that is we have a little bit more data. So we actually have another point to pay attention to, not just here and not just here, but right here, 437.18. So if we start to see this dip down to these type of levels, just watch for that 437.18. If we start to break through that, that is when I would more so say, okay, we are going to potentially go test the breakout area, if not see some kind of wick into this zone. But as it stands, unless we give all this up and we wipe out all this and we wipe out all this, this is very, very bullish behavior. And that's how we'll look into it. But yeah, daily expected moves in the bottom right corner if you want them. I do have them up for the SPX as well. I'm happy Trump listened to Elon about tariffs. I didn't even hear that side of the story, to be totally honest. Market's been too crazy and I gotta dictate the probabilities. So I haven't been paying like the closest attention, but the obvious things I've been catching, Good morning, John. How you doing? Fire ass, what's up? Yeah, earnings next week will be interesting. My thing is like, is Amazon earnings just going to be insane? And does all of this corrective behavior continue until earnings, right? Because we see that like Amazon earnings towards the end of the month. I think one that people will be interested in is Apple. Apple towards May 1st. I think that would be interesting. Apple is one that risk to reward wise is still like, hey, I'm good to go. And look where it is right now. Perfect area, right? This is where we wanted it to get to. But this is how most people think, right? They see a sell come in the middle of the big bar. Okay, we have to go to breakdown area, right? Didn't happen. It just stopped on a dime, turned right back around. Very, very nice. So, if you have that data in there, it's very, very helpful. You don't have to wipe out this bar every time like people think you do. You don't have to. A lot of people describe it that way. I think you're very likely to do that, but sometimes you hold up, and that's why I think the Q's paying attention to that monthly move would be good. As of right now, for the 5-minute chart, we do have divergence on Apple. That is why I was like, I'm not willing to hold this into tomorrow. This is great money. I just took a quick trade with it, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take that because China's going to react really fast. And then I thought about it and I go, that is really, really good money, really fast. And what if China does not come to the table, right? The little skeptical guy in my head came in and was like, hey, just watch out in case that's not the better news that you were thinking it would be. Which is perfectly fine. I'm glad to have that skeptical guy in my head. I'm liking the fact that I took profit on all of Apple as well. It turned into a day trade, weirdly enough. I was like, this is going to be my position. I'm going to build a medium position size, and we're going to see if this can snap back. And then it ended up, I go, oh, wait a second. What if they don't come to the table and this moved really fast? That's great money. Okay, decision made. I'm out, right? Ended up being a day trade with a monthly contract. Yeah, I was listening to some China stuff this morning, and they're overall trying to visit other countries. So it's kind of like this battle. Who are you going to... It's kind of like dodgeball on the playground. And the two captains are going to recruit. And they know who has the bigger guns. They know who has the better dodgeballs. They know who has the better shoes to run around and throw that ball, right? So that's what I think we're getting into now. And I literally said this yesterday. I'm like, this is going to turn into the biggest pissing contest you've ever seen. It will. But do you understand why China would fight so hard for this? Like, really think about it, like critically. Well, China overall is a communist state. They do not really function off of free markets, right? So if you take that into consideration, they need this. This is the only way that they're able to really really advance, right? Or else where's it going to come from? Genuinely, who's going to purchase their things at the rate that other countries do, right? And I think that's something interesting. I think that's why China could be in serious trouble right now. They have to, like, the thing is, people think that America goes away without China. America is going to really suffer without China. Not if they increase production. And then guess what? Nothing's going to happen. Like, not if they increase production. It just wouldn't happen. I can't see it. I can't see it because who's going to buy China's product? Their GDP is going to crap the bed. And that's how I see it. And I'm just like, they just don't. So what they need to do is go to these other countries and try to screw over someone else. And that's what they're doing, I think. I think they're trying to get someone to make some kind of weird deal with them so that they can maintain themselves because they can't do it on their own. This is kind of like back when the whole Gaza thing started. And they say the U.S. needs Israel, right? Probably heard that a lot back in the election time. We need them. We need them. We need them. Do we? You know, that's how I think about things these days. I just think about it for myself and I just go, that's how I put it together. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I see it. I'm like, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So now we're saying, China is, America's going to fail if China doesn't do anything. And I'm like, nope, not going to happen. Some certain U.S. companies will fail. Certain U.S. companies will fail. It might not be exactly great for markets right away, but if production increases, then this is just a long game, in my opinion. Full flag on Palantir in the pre. Yeah, we could turn on some extended hours and things like that just to get a good look for this. I mean, I think if you're using extended hours at these times, I don't think that's a bad thing. I really don't think extended hours are like the worst thing in the world. I would just maybe bump it up one time frame to like an hourly, right? And say, hey, look at this hourly. What would be the great level to get to, right? The 2 levels, right? It's pretty easy to see, right? If we just hold this across, we can draw a couple of lines even on Palantir. Where do we want to get to? Okay, right there. Let's not make it yellow so you guys aren't scared and say, oh my goodness, that's a 95% line. If we lose that, that's bad. This will be the first area. And if you really wanted to, you could potentially even build this as a zone and say, okay, let's take that area, maybe to the lowest point, or maybe to these wicks and say, boom. And when you do that, you can include most of what's going on in here, and you get the breakout area. So you would say anything in this zone that curls back up into positive territory is likely to be some heavy support. Right? We can do that pretty simply. Very, very nice. Is it a bull flag? A little bit choppy there, but is it overall uncontrolled? That's how I would like to phrase it. Is it uncontrolled, right? And right now you got a big move down, but it's just not looking like a big move down. Yeah, that's a 3.5%, 3.4% move down, right? Bam. But why does it look like that? Because volatility is so high that this just looks like regular 1%, 0.5% moves, just like normal. But don't forget, volatility is high. Just we're zoomed into the chart. So if we look at this seriously, we see this turning down, we would say, okay, we're looking for that to maybe show us something around $85. If we don't see it around $85 and we see that actually break down, well, then we'd be looking for support around that $80. We'll just put $80 flat because that's the pretty much exact top of this bar right here before you broke out. So we can kind of mark that level off too. We can go like this. We can mark that off as 80. Bam. We can shift this down just a little bit, maybe to a flat number, but I think 85.12 is fine. So now you're looking in that zone. And then you would say, what if we lose this zone? If you lose all of this, You're looking for this to maybe test these lows, see a big drop down, and then reject off of it. But do I think any of that's really going to happen, or do I think we're just going to see some stuff curl up? And I think it's more so just going to be that good news is potentially still going to remain as good news. As of right now, the SPY going down into the monthly expected move, something I want to look out for at the open still is do the Qs need to go down to their monthly expected move for a test? And that would be a great pullback. And that would convince people that this is all said and done and everything's over and this is really, really bad. And we'll see how that PCC opens up. As of right now, volatility is starting to scale down, right? So the way that this overall would continue to the upside, watch for volatility to curl down. That would be a good hint. Maybe watch for the futures to curl up. Oh, you haven't got it yet, Jonna? Jonna, it'll clear a lot of things up. I think you will really enjoy it, Jonna, because you're getting at least a handle on things. I think, Jonna, I think you would really enjoy that one. It's 80% off right now, guys. All right, AMC just exploded up 500%. And I bought Wolf yesterday for funsies for like $100. That's up 442%. What the heck's going on? What's going on? That's strange. That's probably just a buy coming in, right? When that happens, usually it's just someone bought the same thing as you. But it's fun to see, right? You can't actually. I would never be able to get filled for that. I can tell you that right now. But I thought that was really, really funny. I looked over and I was like, "Whoa, why is my actual whole portfolio percentage really good right now?" So that was funny. NVIDIA, we can go check on NVIDIA and check on all these. And the good part is you saw a lot of similar things. So you're paying attention to similar things. Now, NVIDIA did something better. I think getting up to this was perfect. I think doing this and getting up to here was perfect. I'm looking for that dip back down in the zone and then for that to find a buy. I'm just looking at this zone now. I'm looking for that to curl down if it's even going to, right? But for the time being, you got to the level we wanted, 111. You got a little excited past it. Probably some FOMOers. Okay, awesome. Then it comes down. Then we see it pull down. Those FOMOers turn into faux sellers. And then we turn back to the upside, right? This can take its time. Why can these things take their time? Because a lot of them are outside of weekly expected moves. A lot of them are outside of weekly expected moves. So if you're part of Patreon, you see something that's dramatically out of the weekly expected move, look where it lands. I'm going to show you guys an example here real quick of what went on with AVGO, just so you can be aware. Maybe this makes you go, hey, maybe I want to join the Patreon, maybe not. You know, Patreon can really help. If you don't understand how I trade around these things, hey, that's good, that's fine. It's okay, stick around, learn for a bit, ask some questions. If you think the full technical analysis course at 80% off is good for you, go check it out. We'll literally tell you how to do things like this. But this here is interesting for AVGO. I wanted to point out, look, do you see why I sold AVGO? It was experiencing a 1% moment. So I go, why the hell would I hold on to that? Pretty much. That one was monthly expected move. We tagged the lower monthly expected move, then went all the way to the upper one. That's pretty crazy. Confirmation down, lower expected move. Confirmation up in positive territory, upper expected move. Very crazy stuff. But for the time being, if you're going to use something as support, one, this would say for the week, this is where AVGO should land, right? 68% chance to do so. And now that is within the monthly expected move. So that is very, very probable. But one thing that we like to say is when you see that thing go up outside of an expected move, very, very rigorously, especially with only a couple days left, look for the retests, right? And then maybe you fool around down here for Friday for a bit, and then you see that buy come in at the end of the day. That would be very interesting. Now, why would I point out this level? Because if you go into a 5-minute and you look at the actual breakout area from these wicks, boom, it's right there. Where's the actual breakout? It's right here. Where's the actual purple line? It's right here. So we use this as some information to get some data to point to an area where if they line up with support or resistance, it's very, very nice. Resistance, resistance, resistance becomes burst through, maybe some support. So that's how these things can really help you out in dictating how these things will move, right? I just wanted to show that off because AVGO is a very interesting one. And then we'll go over to NVIDIA and just say, hey, yeah, once again, you're just looking for that same thing. Boom. Does it curl down? Does it come down in that zone? Semiconductors really started to boom for a second. Is overall NVIDIA? Is overall NVIDIA doing crazy things? Well, you'd have to say so. And if you're part of Patreon, you know exactly where to pay attention to. Well, it's actually right around here. Can we find support right around here? If not, you're going to come back down into this zone. Then you're going to maybe even come all the way down to $101, and then we'll have to see what happens, right? This is like pullback mode is definitely what you are in, right? You're saying pullback, maybe on like a 15 if we want to look at that for a second here, right? A 15-minute. But you haven't even curled down yet for the 15 minutes, so that's how high volatility is. What you would like is for that IV to get crushed, sit in this zone for a bit, see one piece of vomit, and then see that thing curl back up. I think that would be fantastic. It would be like a fake out type of move. But this would crush the IV, this would pump it up for a second, and then boom, to the upside, that IV is probably done. And we'll see if volatility will remain at lower levels if we have that kind of behavior. Behavior. Jesus. I don't know why I said that. I felt like I said that weird. Celsius. That's CLH. And we do click around, so if you need the daily expected moves, they're in the bottom right corner. See, once again, you're the similar scenario. It's just this one's a lot tighter. It's already in there, right? It's already in where you need it to go. This little box right here. Put a little box there. That's where you're paying attention first. If that starts to get given up, I think you need to pay attention to something a little different. I don't know if all the way down to the breakout would be the best thing to first pay attention to. I'd probably be looking at where this wick came in and where this happened, right? Right in here. This little area right there. That's very nice. Pull that across and go, okay, if this really wanted to see even a pullback in this type of environment, that would be something to pay attention to. That would be the fact that, oh, we got too excited, right? We got too excited. Let's make that right shoulder that could have been and then curl to the upside. Now, I would say that's better to look at probably on the 15 right now, see if it leaks into the 30. Very nice. Going down to the daily expected move. Gold back up there, up there, up there. So do you think the fear is completely gone? Yeah, probably not. If people are still, rushing to buy gold, well, then it's probably not the best sign. But what is gold setting up for us now that it's at those all-time highs? All right, maybe we could look at futures for a second for gold. And maybe we could pull up a 2-hour, right? We like to look at 2-hour chart. We see that that's curling up, right? Up. So what would need to happen here? Well, gold would potentially back off right here, actually, right? And we probably see that from the 30-minute. It's just I don't like to look at this for the for something that trades like more time, so for the futures. But you do see those divergences popping up. Have they confirmed? Like, yes, they've tried to. But what's happening? You're getting that squeeze-like behavior where you just see this tiny little pullback and you just keep going, but your MACD kind of still pointing downward. So that's a problem, right? But if this would curl down, go negative, then you could get that 2-hour to pull back. 2-hour pull is back. Look at that wick, maybe paying attention to 3,000 or something down in here. Look at the pressure underneath. Look at the pressure underneath. Okay, so that area would be great. And then you see this 2-hour curl down and curl right back up. That'd be very interesting to me. How is this going to fail? Well, you got to look at a bigger time frame, right? On the futures, we like to look at a 4-hour for if this is going to fail, but this is a very good move so far, right? This is not something that is overall like this, right? We are up, okay? So that's almost like, that looks more V than a flag or anything like that. But does it look like the strongest move in the world? No, it looks like squeezing. Squeezing a lot of the time gets a big drop after. Okay. So if the 2-hour crosses down, that would add some credibility too. We can take out this low and go make a new one. But overall, it is positive right now. So there's always a chance that that just curls down for a moment and goes down into 3,000 and then just turns right back up. But this is more so, hey, is the fear gone? Is the fear gone? And the answer to that, I would believe by looking at gold here, I would say no. I would say no, it is not gone. Let's go back into a 15-minute chart here and just check on things. See if the Qs actually gapped back into their weekly expected move. So it's great. Okay, here's something else. We left a gap behind. We just left a gap behind. Well, these gaps we keep leaving behind, weirdly enough, we keep filling them. We just keep filling them. So even if this goes down really dramatically, just watch, because that would be a 1% moment. You know what I would do if I saw a 1% moment in the morning? I'd probably place a buy, to be totally honest, because you have about a 95% chance that that curls back into this area. And then guess what? The best time to squeeze, the best time to start a squeeze is on a Friday, right? And then maybe sell that thing off a little bit and then squeeze it again on Monday, and then everyone's taken off guard. So it's very good it's better to get outside of these ranges on Thursday, Friday, because you don't have as much time to see that snap back into the zone. Right? If we would have went up here, what would have happened? Well, we might have been up, 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 up. We might have got to a great level. We might have got to here, but what is that at this point? Well, you're starting to reach up to that 95% line for the week. Usually we don't have to put out those second standard deviations, but right now you're dealing with it. So as it stands, this is a good thing. It's a very good thing, because it's less likely to be some kind of massive trap, right? If it would have done this and then vomited because you're in a 1% situation, that would be a lot scarier to me. It still would be better for the momentum to be able to hold up, but I don't like that kind of behavior, right? I want volatility. I want IV to decrease and then see something unexpected. We want this to get tight and then see something unexpected. Daily for the time being does not have divergence really at all for the QQQ, if that's what you're talking about, not for the SPY. I don't think you have a daily divergence that held at all anywhere. Even Amazon gave up its daily divergence. Actually, weirdly enough, the only place where I think you're holding divergence is Bitcoin. Bitcoin on the daily scale, don't sleep on it. I think something big is coming, right? I think something big is coming for Bitcoin if it can just curl up and if it can take back this 91.8K. Right? What do we see? Support, 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 support. We lose it, flush. We go react up to it. Hey, yeah, we chop it out a little bit. Resistance, go back up to it. Resistance, okay, we're coming back down. So what's going to happen if we break through that? Well, potentially a different thing, right? We can use that as support again. That line's been really good to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, right? We put this line up when we were getting these touches and we just said, this looks like the important area with the wick. And then we kept reacting off of that area. So Bitcoin holding daily divergence. Let's pay attention. That daily divergence, not something to mess around with, man. If that thing confirms, the probabilities say very, very scary to try to, I guess, short crypto at that point. And you can look across the board, at least across the board at previously, you know, with things like Ripple and things like that. And it held daily divergence as well. So the only thing for Ripple is this one didn't hold it as well. Now let's look over at Ethereum, right? And these kind of things. And we're going, okay, is this going to have the daily divergence? Or is Bitcoin going to be the leader here? Well, Ethereum is overall showing it on the MACD, not on the RSI at the same time. So if I was a risky trader, I would say Bitcoin's going to go up, so everything else is going to go up. So when these dailies confirm, I'm going to buy something a little riskier because Bitcoin's saying it's going to go up, right? If Bitcoin confirms it at the same time. If I was being safe, I would say Bitcoin has the best signal. Bitcoin actually has the signals that I need to get those full confirmations for a full trade setup. So if it gets the confirmation, maybe I'm going to take the safe route and just do Bitcoin and understand that that's plenty of profit, right? There's different ways to make a decision. Amazon for the time being, 15-minute, trying to pull back here. Very nice for Amazon, right? Looking for that 174.51. Very good level to pay attention to. Those wicks coming in. A lot of things going in here, right? This would be liquidity grab type of area. So we'll see what happens. I activated my Romo account. That's what's up, not Navin. We'll see you over there tomorrow, because today I'm going to the zoo, baby. Going to the zoo, baby. Yeah, 520 would be in that little zone right here, but you'd still take into consideration the 95% line, which happens to coincide with what? Happens to coincide with the breakout area as of right now. So yeah, you lose 520, you could head all the way down to 502. But let's pay attention to the Qs as well, right? The Qs have something in the middle of here that would be a little bit deeper. That looks like about where 520 would be for the SPY. So we'll see. Would you get out of puts? I'm not someone who's willing to. I know the volatility is high and day traders are going insane. I don't want to overtrade. I had a great trade yesterday. The worst thing, the worst thing I could do today is try to make a shit ton of money. Made a shit ton yesterday. That's fine. Still leaving the runners. That's fine. I'm hoping to make more. Awesome. Okay. Now, if I try to do something here, if I try to make every little move and I trade every single move in the market, I'm trying to dictate exactly which way the market is going to go every single time it turns. That is very difficult to do. I'd rather just zoom out, look at the 15, look at a 30, and say, where's the levels I'm paying attention? Well, if we scream all the way back down to this 95 line, I'm potentially buying again, right? I can say if this 15-minute crosses, I get out of my longs, right? We're violating this. I don't want something crazy to happen, right? I can say, hey, that's my plan. I'm out completely. Okay, we go down to here. We go down to here. We see this. We go like that. Okay, awesome. I'm back in. We see this. We go like that. Awesome. I'm back in. Over trading is very, very bad. You just had a once in multiple lifetime kind of move. An 11% move in one day. And you had great confirmation with it. And you had a signal behind it. Like, this is the easiest trade of the year. This ended up being the easiest trade and the best trade of the year. And I'm willing to say that right now because you do not see things like this almost ever. It's literally a 1% moment you saw here, and then you see a 1% moment right here. That's a 1% moment, just so you're aware. This right here. So you experience a 1% in the bigger time frame, and then you experience a 1% moment for an entire day. Right? You experience the 1% for the week, you experience almost 1% for the month, and then you experience something 1% for the day. So if I sit there and I go, I want to make more money, it just sounds greedy. Why don't I wait and see what I think is the most probable thing and then go with that? Why don't I allow myself to get a breather? Third biggest move ever in the NASDAQ. There you go. That's all you need to see to be like, you experienced history. That's why I put that up there. I was like, you're going to experience history today, right? You're already experiencing it. We already said you were because you're seeing all these 1% moments. And they are that. Don't think of them any differently. They are that. Time to sit back and grab some popcorn. There you go. You know, have some fun with it today. It's like if you have a good trade yesterday, treat being patient as fun. You know? You know when I'm being patient, when I used to not have a channel, you know what I used to do? I used to pull up a video game. I used to leave charts on my left, pull up a video game that I can just like, you know, if I don't have to, I don't have to play anything. I don't have to like look at it. I can pull up a video game for 30 minutes and have a good time. Especially like you have a good trade the previous day. Get yourself to calm down. Maybe have some little 12-year-olds put you in your place on some video games, and then you'll feel bad, and then you'll be able to take the next good trade with a clear head. Right? You're going into that super cocky brain up there, and then you go play against some 12-year-olds, they kick your ass, and then you're back to, oh man, I kind of suck. I'm kind of down in the dumps. Let me make sure to wait for the next good trade. I need something good. I used to do that when like Valorant first came out. GME going up. Well, that was interesting with the options, but GME as of right now, I think GME is a good thing to pay attention to on the 30-minute. If the 30-minute is able to cross here for GME, the weird thing about GME is GME and AMC saw the upward move while no one else did. GME and AMC confirmed signals before anyone else did. Weirdly enough, in this scenario, the market followed GME. I think that is super interesting. But what do you see on GME? I see 30-minute divergence. Right? I see multiple point divergence as well, potentially. It's not a good thing. But is it a bad thing right now? No, you're not curled down. You're not confirmed. Get wrecked on oh shit, what is it? StarCraft? Yeah, you get wrecked on. Dude, I suck at StarCraft. I'm so bad. Do you know StarCraft is the hardest game in history? Definitely. 100%. So you want to feel bad about yourself, go play StarCraft. And I'm just saying that because if you get in that too cocky of a mindset, you need to reset before the next trade, or else you could make a decision not with a clear head, right? I'm sure after yesterday's move, bullish, 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 bullish is in everyone's head. Okay, well, what if this curls down to here? Are you still going to have that conviction? You don't like fibs? I just don't utilize them very often. I don't have to. Do I like fibs? Oh, I think fibs are great. I think that I bet a lot of people are looking for a golden pocket retrace, right? I have my golden pocket calculated in. You know where that is? 510. The 0.786. Where is that? Well, right around this area. So we're watching, right? Some kind of retrace. Oh, what about that top side? Okay, well, the top side, 524. Hey, it's right in this little zone right here, right? I just don't think it's the most helpful to me. It's not the biggest part of my trading strategy. And I don't like to make things over complex, right? I used to use them all the time. I don't think they added too much benefit to my strategy. I'm not saying they can't add to yours. Look at Ta. Yeah, Ta's saying it right away. Fibs for the win. That's all Ta does, man. But you can utilize, maybe if that's your skill, maybe you could learn something from here that helps you out a little bit, like these weekly or monthly expected moves. And then that advances you that little bit more. That gets you to be successful just 2% more. If you're successful 2% more and you're at 52% versus 48% loss, you can be a good trader if you're good at managing money. That's all it takes, right? Why do you think people who count cards are able to make money? All they have is like a 1.5% advantage, but they make money. Because you know why? Nobody talks about this with counting cards. The biggest skill about counting cards is not being able to count the cards. The biggest skill about counting cards is money management, risk management, knowing when to push, knowing when to stop, knowing when to pull down the price, pull it down, pull down the risk, pull down the risk. Okay, now I have the numbers with me. Go. That's what they wait for. They wait for the numbers to be with them. Exactly, Ta. And I don't read into that too heavily. That's just something I put together in my head. Oh, that's weird. We see a put wall. Oh, we see our daily expected move there. Oh, we see support there. And then in your case, oh, and we see a fib there? Holy shit, there's a lot of confluence around this area. I'm going to really watch that area. Oh, that pullback would take me outside of a daily expected move. Oh, okay. Then I'm going to pay attention to it, especially if it's pretty crazy. And it's not all the time, Ta. You're crazy to say that you're not going to take a loss or anything like that, right? The JP Morgan loss was just recently. We took a loss on JP Morgan. And if I would have had conviction with it, I still would have been right. And I'm still kicking myself to this day for it. All right, NVIDIA. I see NVIDIA kind of seeing more so red here. So I'm going to keep my eye on it. I want NVIDIA to go to 102. We bounced out the... Sorry, I was trying to read that. Inflation numbers look fabulous today. Exactly. Just be right more than you're wrong and manage your risk. Manage your money. And you can be good for a long period of time. And don't try to get rich. Now, there are certain times where, you know, trying to make a very, very positive trade makes sense. When was that time? It was actually right here. This was that time. This was the time where you say, I think there could be a 1% moment. This is when you could see it because you're outside of the monthly, and this is very possible. And look, it all happened in one shot. This is why I freakingly fast made the Patreon video, because I know Patreon members can't show up to the live show. So I wanted to make sure to get that out to them. And then an hour later, if you were paying attention for just an hour and you bought that, and then you just go back to your day, you're probably loving life. And then you say, hey, what do I need to do? Well, I have decisions to be made, right? Very difficult to trade at work, I could tell you that, back when I was working for that marketing firm. So, any interesting moves? Do we need to, anyone out there looking for a key level? Anyone want to look for a key level for something that maybe you have that's pulling back? Maybe you didn't manage any kind of risk at the purple line there, right? The upward expected move. I actually could label these. I really should label these while we have a little lull here for a second. Can I label them? Ah, no. How do I label that shit? Can I put it on the side? Bottom, center, right. Let's put that one on the top. There you go. Now you have your weekly upside. I should label all these. Nvidia for the time being, 102. Just so you're aware, we kind of just went over that one, but we can look for a couple ones. Let's look for ones we don't have moves for. Let's look for ones we don't have moves for. Let's see if these things had any kind of upward move. Okay, they had an upward move. That's fantastic. What's going on here? Well, it's really bundling up in this area. That's 1 on the 15-minute. Very, very nice to see some price action above these wicks, right? Very, very nice to see that. But what did we not do, and what's very possible? Oh, we got a little excited. So this is always possible. And I would just really be going like this and taking like the low point with those wicks and making that in white. So I'm not thinking, something really, really crazy. But that'd be great. Now, what does that almost add up to? Well, it adds up to support that tried to be support, lost it. Look at the wick, resistance, the wick towards it, resistance. Okay, resistance at the wick here. We bust through that. So 251.37 is what I'd be watching. And that's the general area, right? You never treat anything as just a hard line. Price has to bounce from there. No, this is an area you pay attention, right? Maybe you're looking at a 5-minute thing right here, and then that goes up, right? And then you see the 30 curl up with it. I don't mind this at all. Did you get a hint for this? 30-minute divergence. Or, sorry, 30-minute divergence. Let's get to a 30-minute chart. Bam. Well, bam. Where are you? The 5. That's where rejections like to happen. 2 hour. No real divergence there, right? This is looking a lot like the market. You just see it on your RSI. So there's a lot to go through here. But yeah, I would really be watching 251.37 if it gets dramatic, right? If it gets a little less dramatic, hey, look at these wicks right here. Bam, right there. The top side of this bar. Let's go look at the dollar. Okay, the dollar turning down, not a good thing. This is not a good thing, in my opinion, because we overall said, hey, the dollar might move with the market here, right? People might buy into the US currency. That's not a bad thing. Are we violating things? Not necessarily just yet, right? We're seeing this dip down. We're seeing it hold. This has some room to go. It can go deeper into this zone and still hold divergence on your MACD and RSI. So we'll look for the hints. What's the hints? Well, if the 4 hour is going to get dramatic to the downside, that would be bad, right? So what you're really looking for is the 4 hour to be able to flip back up in this zone, and that would be a good thing. What likes to curl up 4 hour charts? Well, 2 hour divergences coming into this area, right? You would like that to maybe go down deeper, but now that you're here, you might see that little lip, and then that would be bad. So 4 hour chart is more so what I'd be paying attention to for the dollar, and I think you are in a support zone, so you are very likely to find support unless you break below this gray area right here. That would mean you need to get below pretty much 100.5. PCC is out, and look at this, right? No one believes that we can. This is just more and more and more so pointing towards people are still getting bearish, right? What do we look for, and why do we like this? We want people to stay bearish, actually, and it's unfortunate that it's other retail people that we kind of go against a lot of the time, but that's the game we have to play, right? We have to be the people making good decisions while other people are making bad ones, and that's very sad. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's the game we play. What about the circuit breaker? The circuit breaker, it's just, you could see one of those moments in this environment. Too many people talked about it. It's not, I don't think it's going to happen. It would be a low probability thing at this point, but you have seen some kind of bounce. So this is where you would just look. If this gets risky, then the hourly most likely curls down. You see hours of selling. Right now, you haven't even curled down a 15-minute. Yeah, I think we were talking about circuit breaker for the SPY. What about that Black Monday? I mean, Black Monday turned into a pretty green week. INTC. I do want to pay attention to this. I did do some research on these guys, and Intel actually in a pretty good spot with these tariffs. Once again, a lot of this is the right shoulder that could have been looks pretty deep. So we're looking for these type of areas. I'd actually pull this up. I would pull this up to 19. 19. The reason I would pull up 19, if we put a line across right there, bam, right around that 1902. Well, what do we notice around that area? Well, we saw a blip here, but support overall, big reaction up. We lose it, resistance. We go up to it, resistance. We break through it. We even remain near it for a second, and then boom to the upside. So I think 19 is a great level. It literally, once you start to squeeze, 15-minute pullbacks will be potentially all you really get, right? Because 30 minutes are just going to look like, oh, squeeze-like behavior. So that's if we even squeeze. I think we're due for a nice vomit today. I think vomiting today would be nice, and then we see what happens if this thing can turn back around. We'll pay attention to volatility for that. As of right now, what does it look like? Hey, it looks like that 30 minutes about to see it, that next move. The 30-minute here, that next move. Hey, what if it's just an equal move to go retest the 5, right? Bam, we see this. We go to the upside. So we'll be watching for this to potentially retest that 5. And that would be maybe visible on the 5. No, it's not going to be visible on the 5-minute. You would hope it'd be visible on the 15 or something, but I don't think it will. Now, we're going with the most likely scenario. We still have to see confirmations back up. This 15-minute just crossed down. Could we see a vomit type of moment here? Yeah, you can. Look at the environment you're in. Bam, 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 bam. 508, 502. Maybe right here in this little box. Maybe just down to 517. Well, I kind of would like this moment to happen. Really, really bearish sentiment going into the end of the week. Yeah, VIX looks like it wants to move up. It just held very, very well. That would be definite considered like flagging at this point, right? We would say, hey, yeah, that's really basing out right on that level of 36.11, one of the levels I like to pay attention to. And really, cup, extended handle, bam, that's a lot of liquidity. So you can see a bigger move here. We'll find out. You can take back the 5 from this. Looks like a small gap left behind. So feel like it's going to pick up at some point. Well, you would say low volume down in the morning. That means retail, retail, retail hour, you know? Oh, gotta stretch it out. Gotta stretch before I go to this zoo and walk like 6 miles. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, shoot, my boy messaged me. What's up, dude? What's up, homie? Once you and your friends all get kids, we barely talk anymore. So we have come outside of the daily expected move very early on in the day. Nothing crazy would be great. I'm just saying that. It's called Tanganyika. It's like one of those private zoos. It's so clean. It's so nice compared to all the public zoos that I've been to. Which zoo? The one where I can pet lemurs and feed weird birds and swim with penguins. What are friends? Well, Willow, you gotta tell me, do you ever put me on that? Do you ever watch my videos on that 70-inch screen? Do you ever watch technical analysis videos on your TV and you're just like, wow, this is so cool. Yeah, and if that happens to be right at the daily expected move, Labs, that'd be pretty cool. What if we pump from here? Depends on what you mean by pump. Technically, I don't necessarily want to pump unless it's going to be massive, right? Unless we are just going to see this thing take off. I really don't want to see it because if you pump all of a sudden, you're always kind of like, oh no, we still have another day and a half, right? If we would just do this in the next hour, I'd be like, man, you still might pull down into this area. Now, that wouldn't be a terrible thing, right? To not see this we'll make the IV start to get crushed a little bit. Let's get no news today. Let's do this, then do this, then do this, then do this, then do that, right? That would crush down the IV a little bit. Because what you're seeing right now is bam, 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 bam. Yeah, let's just sit here for a bit. If we could sit here for just like 2 days straight, that would be great. And I think they give you one, maybe more flash sell. But the thing is, people are so jumping to the bear side so quickly. Look at this. Look at that big thing up. I mean, I know the SPY is down, what, 3.5%, right? It's very big IV. I get it. But we need that IV to kind of leak out for a few days, I think. Yeah, looking over at GME, very nice. Still curling to the upside. Watch for 30-minute divergence and things like that to confirm. But as of right now, 2 hours pointing up, right? What's the recipe for success for GME? 2 hour pointing up and going positive. Check. 30-minute. Let's look at the short time frame. 30-minute curled up, going positive. Check. Daily scale. What's going on here? Daily scale going up. Ooh, not positive yet. Not a full check. Kind of half check, right? So we have check, check, and half check, right? We're almost there. You have half check right here. So that's the recipe for success. That is the recipe for a big move to the upside, if we talk about it just very basically. But why does this have better probability right now? You have daily divergence beneath you. So this means GME might start to do something crazy as long as the 30-minute doesn't cross. Because when the big moment happens, the 30-minute crosses down, hey, that only happens when you're at like $100, right? If you're looking for that very much so 1% moment, like a sub 1% moment is what you're looking for potentially with GME, right? I assume that's why people ask about it. So it can happen, and I think the risk to reward for it to happen is great. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I just throw money at it when there's signals that look good, and I hold on to the stocks, right? So this looks great. Now we can easily see how that would start to look bad, because if the 30-minute crosses, it means not the moment. If the 30-minute crosses with 30-minute divergence, it means you could see not the moment for a long time, right? We could see this break here, break here, break here, see that go like this, right? We start to add more credibility to downside once we actually look at this, and if those things started to confirm. So that's the big troublesome thing. That would be, hey, if the 2 hour crosses down, maybe I don't want to be in that, right? Maybe I want to manage. It depends on how I'm trading the thing. Am I just risk rewarding? Do I mind? Did I use an amount of money that I'm willing to just lose? With GME and AMC, I always use a very small amount of money that I'm willing to lose. On the investment side, I don't really care. It can go down 20%. That's nothing to me. I've been doing options for a year and a half straight now without doing anything to do with really shares. So, 20% is not going to scare me out of anything, especially because the position size has been managed. But if my option starts to go wrong, that's what I usually trade back and forth, right? But for me, I think I see all good things, so I'm willing to let this money go to zero because the signals are so good here. That doesn't mean it's the best thing for you, right? I'm different. I'm not saying that as like I'm built different. No, I'm just different from you, just as a blanket statement. I will manage $1. If I find $1 on the side of the road, I could save it while you could go spend it on a Snickers bar, right? We're just different people. So you have to see what decision is best for you. And that's what we talk about here. We'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep an eye on it on my other screen. I do have some stuff I want to pay attention to over here, though. I really like the AVGO play still. I really want AVGO to go down to about 163, 164. I think that would be fan-freaking-tastic. Bitcoin at the key level, and it can squeeze. I think that's facts. I think Bitcoin has the best daily signals out of all of them. IWM, similar story. Again, right? And this one, I believe even on the 5-minute, you got more of a hint, if I'm not mistaken. I was looking at this. It wasn't the best, but it was just on the gap. But I think this last bar was what I was looking at. I was like, I don't like seeing that going into today. But if you look at this from the same perspective, okay, we've broken through this. So where are we very likely to head to? Well, weirdly enough, let's look at these lows and let's look where these wicks came in. Okay, so right here. We'll even take the top of the wick. Boom, 176.69 would be a great level. You see that vomit down to there, get rid of all this, go down to these type of levels. That would be outside of a daily expected move really, really fast. Okay, boom, that's a 1% moment. And then we have a 95% chance to maybe do something like this, or at least close above these type of levels, 68% chance to get back by the end of the day, right? It's just how much time do I have? This is why I don't do things on the daily with like daily. I don't make decisions on daily expected moves until I see daily expected moves outside of weekly expected moves. Does that make sense? I do not make decisions with daily expected moves, so unless I see them outside of a weekly expected move, right? So if we would have done this, I would have said, I am out. No, thank you. That is too much of a 1% moment. This is going to high percentage chance to do that by Friday. And then we can see something crazy by Monday. Instead, we turned down. So now I can just say, okay, now I can still utilize that because we're close to here, but I can see how IWM and these things could follow IWM and head down lower. Yeah, levels for VIX that I like to pay attention to. Weirdly enough, I actually have more levels on these charts than my other ones. There's a lot of white lines, but those will be important for different times. For very volatile times, usually people pay attention to that 40, 45. I like 3611, 4080, 6168, and 20. Right? I mark those off in green. Those are my like, hey, be careful lines, right? I know they're in green, but that's because that's my go, 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 get more aggressive, right? Get aggressive, be fast. That's what I like to do above 20. And that's what I like to continue to do as we get through all of these. That's why they're in green. They say go, 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 but be fast, right? What are these white lines? Okay, the white lines are very important, right? These are more levels you will be at when you're going to see some kind of surprising crash type thing. Notice where we were at. Well, we were at 1504. So 3 levels you can pay attention to, 1683 is something, 1504, and 1212. 1212 being the most important in my opinion. Because a lot of the time, when you're about to see big vol come in, right? Remember August? What did we see? Divergence. Buy where? 1212. Bam. So I don't think we have seen the bullishness fully come in yet for this to be some kind of surprising crash, right? Crashes always surprise people. Would people be surprised here? Not necessarily. Most people would make money. We have a 1.365 put to call ratio, and it's growing. Okay, so there's some levels for you. If you need to go back through it, I just want to make sure to be paying attention to the market. Exactly, Boxman. Exactly. If $100 is too much money to risk, that's fine. Maybe it means take your time, be patient. The market will still be here in a month. You could save another $100. You just doubled your sizing of the first position you could take. Okay, 200. Now I can do things. Things are very expensive right now. I get it. I get it, man. JP Morgan, I think, is very interesting. I think JP Morgan did very, very well here. I'm still paying attention to JP Morgan to this point. Now, why would I be paying attention to JP Morgan? Let's say if it went down to, say, like 216, 218, or maybe down to these type of, I think you would more so pay attention to the actual breakout at 215.88. Why would I pay attention to those levels? Well, because right now, JP Morgan's outside of a move, right? So the risk to reward would be there, right? If I manage that position size correctly for JP Morgan and it goes all the way down to 216, 218 by the end of the day, that would be a risk to reward. But me, myself, I don't like to play earnings, right? I really don't like to play earnings because a lot of the time it's 50-50 and you get IV crushed. It's not super difficult to make money. It's difficult to make the amount of money that you would like to make, right? Because IV is so high, really these numbers would have been a lot bigger, right? For something like, I think NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is a good example. AVGO is a great example. It was great money, but the implied volatility was still priced in, right? There was a lot of volatility priced in. You saw something surprising, so the money was very good, right? But at this point, you would say if those were tighter, if those were like this, that would have been worth double, triple what it was when I sold it. We sold half on the big move up, right? Half on the move up, and then half at the high, and we're done. Half at my white line. Yes, Onda, that is a great way to do it. Look, if you want a little, options have a ton of leverage behind them. Okay. If you want a little bit of leverage, well, then what are we looking for? Well, look at those 3x ones, right? Look at the SPY, right? Do your analysis on the SPY. Watch this. Okay, at this time right here, 11:30 for me, right? 11:30 yesterday. We closed 501.70-ish, right? The actual close was 501.20. Okay, well, at that time, that close happens. Or maybe 5 minutes before that close happens. What happened over here? The same exact thing. So if I'm seeing it on the SPY, that's great. I happen to see it on the SPXL at the same time. So bam, right there, right? What is that worth, right? If I would have taken that to a SPY when it hits the weekly expected move, 24% in 3 hours. 24% in 3 hours. That, if you can do that consistently, moves don't happen like this all the time, but that's great. That's 24%. And because you're not using options and time is not technically that much against you, right? I could maybe add more money to the play than I would in an option play, right? Maybe if I said I was going to do $1,000 behind an option, hey, I can, maybe I still don't want to go all the way up to risking $3,000, but I can risk two, and then I can make a quick $500 just off of, just regular shares. I don't think that's a bad thing. Some people just trade TQQQ and SQQQ back and forth. I watch every day on my 75 with the laptop on TradingView. That's sick, Coulter. God, I need a new TV down here. We got rid of our TV when we moved here, and we just we just kept our huge one. We try not to have too much TV going on with baby girl. Missed the fun. Definitely butthurt. Well, Coulter, I mean, I would say if you want to give it a try, man, try out the Patreon if you want, or get the skills for yourself, right? We have a lot of things going on. 80% off for the full technical analysis course. The full technical analysis course literally is this. This is like the perfect setup for what you learn over in that. It's 80% off. But if you just join the Patreon, then after the video, I put a video out on Patreon and seriously talked about confirmation and things like that and what we should target and everything like that with this kind of move. So I thought it was a great learning experience. I didn't think it would all happen in frickin' 2 hours. But it did, and that's the point. It's like sometimes you get lucky, and you have to understand that that is a very lucky moment. All right? Whether you like it or not, luck is a thing. And guess what? Taking this and seeing a 10% afterwards is very lucky. It is a 1% moment for a day. It is a 1% moment. So you got lucky, but you were paying. But did you get lucky? You put yourself in the position to make luck in your favor. That's the thing. There are times where the luck is the reward and the risk is smaller, right? People think that the word luck is a bad thing. After reading The Psychology of Money and having my own thoughts about it, I was like, yeah, I can see how luck does have something to do with it. We talk about that. Hey, if you pay attention to the right signals and you make the right decisions, eventually you'll see a crash and you'll be a part of the move. Hey, if you make the right decisions and you see the right signals and you take those at the right times and you position size, manage your money, eventually sometimes you're going to see something crazy. That's just going to happen. And what's going to happen is nobody else will expect it and you'll see it happen and then understand, oh, that's a really crazy thing. That's great money. There's no real trade ideas just at this moment. Right now you have a 15-minute pullback taking place. It would be very nice to not see this vomit, because what that's going to do is overall not allow volatility to scale up, right? We're fine with these little pops in volatility. You just don't want volatility to scale up dramatically. You want this IV to get soaked up. You maybe want one pop in volatility. Luck is just probabilities playing out. Well, I would say this. Most of the time I target the big zones, 68%. I'm going to be right a lot of the time, but I'm going to be very cautious. The real luck that I'm talking about is when you take something and you see that 1% moment all of a sudden, right? This is that moment. This is the luck. This going like, then coming down, then doing this, then fiddling around, then getting back in that move. That's how this most likely would have behaved, right? Something like that. But instead, you experience the luck, and that's awesome. And we had a great time on Rumble with it, right? We were having fun. I like it not nabbing. And if you can manage your position size correctly, you're putting yourself in a situation where the probabilities point in your direction. The luck comes bigger than the risk. The reward comes bigger, and then you experience that 1% moment for once. If you did make money out of the move yesterday, congratulations. You experienced a 1% moment. So good job. Congratulations. Seriously, celebrate your stuff for a moment and then lock in and say, I'm not going to let that type of attitude cloud my judgment on the next trade. Or maybe you see it coming down today and you're going, oh man, I need to manage. Make sure that your plan, right? Try to stick to your plan. You'll be surprised how much your intuition really helps you with that plan. Well, no, great traders put themselves in a situation where luck is on their side, right? It's just like a card counter. It is. They wait. They position size. They position size. They position size. They strike at the right time when their luck is the highest. And I know we're saying luck, but we're mainly talking about those 1% moments. Really, it is risk and reward. You point to where the reward can be. Now, sometimes it'll go against you. You know, there's another side to that. There's a 1% unluck. I miss it too, Richard. I like that. I like that chat better. It's easier to like tell because your guys' names and mine on my trading platform or on my trading platform on my streaming platform, they're all just gray, and sometimes they mix together. And it's very difficult. When I'm risking small amounts, I do great. Then I use the confidence for a longer position and get absolutely annihilated and go back to building the account in a vicious cycle. Coulter, I'm going to tell you something from college. I was a semi-pro soccer player. I was a college soccer player, and something that really helped me was a coach telling me how to turn almost a weakness into a strength, right? And maybe turning that weakness into a strength is a good thing, or doubling down on your strengths. A lot of it was about doubling down on my strengths. What the hell am I good at? What do I suck at? Sit down and have that conversation with yourself. One, you'll learn a lot about yourself. And two, you'll put yourself in a situation where you're improving. Why? Because you're saying, I'm going to mitigate the risk. I'm not going to try to get better at my weaknesses to the max. Right? A boxer should not try to get really good at kicking. That makes no sense. But if a boxer has a really heavy right hand, then they need to do things that set up their right hand. Right? They need to learn feints. They need to learn how to maybe jab better with their left to set up the right. Right? Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Try to figure out what those strengths are and really be honest with yourself with the weaknesses. Accountability, man. And the only you don't have to be accountable to anyone in here. Just yourself. It's great. I'm bad at dieting. Yeah. I'm bad at dieting, so I'm going to be really good at working out, but I'm good at working out. What is it? Who's that wide receiver that was really popular? Was it T.O. or something like that? He said everyone in the industry was getting injured all the time because they're eating salads and all these little grilled, chickens and all that. And he goes, you know what I did? I ate McDonald's before every game and I barely had any injuries or something. I don't know if it was T.O. It was someone. So let's hit the upside now. I mean, that's how this would go, right? Ocho Cinco. Was it him? Okay, it was. Sounds like him. And it's like, facts. These guys were really, really strong for a long time, and then they switch things up to make their body better. Their body was already good for the thing that they're doing. Chad. Old Chad. All right, so we're seeing these things start to get a little bit of a bounce, but nothing too crazy. I mean, we could look at this on a 5 and just show, hey, that's still positive. A positive thing can happen. We will pay attention to if we start to get rejection again at these weekly moves, rejection at the actual gap fill and things like that, some kind of divergence that actually shows up on your MACD and RSI at the same time, not just this rejection. I like mine to show up. I pay attention to them further, but a 5-minute chart is something to pay attention to. I'm sure a lot of day traders are enjoying themselves these days. The steroids help too. Yeah, yeah, they definitely did. Immediate bounce. Let's see. What do we get? We didn't even get down to where I really wanted to, that 524, but hey, we have the daily expected move for a reason. I don't know if this will be this easy. This might seem too easy, just a 5-minute pullback. But hey, crazy things can happen. People are shorting at the highs. Short, 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 short. So my question is, on this 15-minute, what thing gave the next opportunity, right? The Qs, this, maybe IWM. IWM went a little bit deeper, so maybe we need to look at some of those stocks. DIA, not so much. Apple, I don't really like that look. That's divergence on the 15 minutes, so not going to really look at Apple here. If I need to get back into something or I want to reload. Amazon at the bottom of its zone, testing a perfect area. Great stuff. NVIDIA almost got to the zone, not quite there. AMD, a little bit more of a vomit, coming down into the good area. That's great. Let's look at Meta. Meta, not quite there yet. Still could have more time. We'll see. But if these things all confirm up, we could see upside moves. So Google, I'd like to see that get deeper. So let's look at some little guys, right? Let's look at the AMCs. Let's look at the GMEs. Let's look at the SoFis. Let's look at the DJTs. Because SoFi and DJT probably not, but SoFi, great move up, and then a move down, right? A decent size move down, right? A 10% drop. Okay, awesome. That's cheaper than it was at the end of the day yesterday. Palantir, I'd like these things to come down a little bit deeper is what I'm overall thinking. AVGO as well. Yeah, I still would like to see these things go down a little bit deeper. But hey, just because I would like that doesn't mean they have to. But does it mean I'm going to reload right away? I'm not going to reload right away. I'm going to wait to see how this looks by the end of the week. I can leave those runners. 10% move, which direction, Rajiv? Which direction are they saying? I'm going to guess before you type it out. I'm going to guess upside. Is that the close for the other market? Yeah, GLD getting excited. Really? Again? Yeah, there's the 2-hour. It's able to build back here. Daily scale crossed. Oh, I don't like this for gold going into Friday. I really freaking don't. Ooh, it's not the best thing in the world, I think, for GLD. I think we got to see a little bit more and then see. Up, of course, buy, causing retail investors to lose money. At the end of the day, I don't know how they're talking about it. At the end of the day, we're saying the same thing. We're just like, it's going to take more time. I'm not going to sit there and say it has to happen, right? I'm going to say this is still possible in my mind. Until really we get above 550, right? And hold above maybe even 547, right? 547 for this buy or something like that. Above our wick, if we can hold there, that would be good. But ultimately, the goal here is to get all the way up to 576. Are we just going to see a straight shot up to 576? Well, we already have that answer. The answer to that is no. But I think we would need to dig a little bit deeper, man. I think a little bit deeper would make more sense. All right, the Q's going to here makes a lot of sense. But seeing something crazy again, I think it would hurt the IV more to just see this and then fall down. And then you kind of see that curl back up. I'm kind of thinking what hurts the most IV right now. Because you don't have to go up to hurt people's positions. You don't have to go down to hurt people's positions. You can go sideways and hurt everyone's. And people are thinking this volatility will last. I think it might. China's, meeting with everyone but the person who they should be meeting with. You don't trade them? Oh yeah, they're on short squeeze one. They have the signals for it. So it's just GME is starting to get up to where it's starting to get to our weekly. It's getting there slowly. As of right now, let's see if the 30 minutes still holding it. I'm scared of them. Well, it's just that $1,000 risk to reward, right? I think my dad's buddy even bought $1,000 worth of GME back at like $23 or something like that, just because he's like, yeah, I mean, I have $1,000. He's like, I got $1,000. I don't care. It's like, you're telling me that thing could like, he's like, people are saying this thing could 10x. Oh, okay, sick. I'll just buy some shares and, make a quick 10 grand if that ever happened. He's like, risk to rewards there. I'd like that. That's how they think about it. That's how the level headed, not the technical analyst day trader thinks about it. I think Apple could be the interesting one. Apple's the really interesting one. This is the if China caves one. Apple is still dramatically at bad levels, just so you're aware. Even with this upside move, Apple is still in a worse spot than a lot of other things. Do I have my 95% line for the monthly here? For Apple? I could probably pull them down. I can pull them down and make second standard deviation for all. Apple would say 190.52. We'll give you that today. We'll be nice. I'm feeling good, feeling good. All right, so that's why Apple could still be interesting, right? If Apple makes another move outside like this, oh my goodness, like that would say you have a 95% chance to see that, whether it gets news or not, right? That this doesn't really say like, oh, I react to this. This is all because of news that this line is here. No, that's just what people priced in. So this can be a buy zone for Apple, whether you like it or not. But it's just now starting to show that little bit of weakness. So this is why Apple can be a great thing. I highly encourage if you are going to maybe trade Apple, you one, manage that risk. Okay, that's one. Two, the Patreon will give you monthly expected moves. If you know where monthly expected moves here, you understand why we're talking about Apple. I gave you the dotted line, and you're at it. You saw a 1% moment for Apple. Exactly, Ember. People do that. Warren Buffett did that, technically. I think it was 97% of Warren Buffett's trades or his investments failed or were negative, and he got out of them. But guess what? He's a billionaire. Why? Because of that 3% and a little bit of luck. But he just spread himself out to be lucky. In the time when he was buying stocks, it was hard not to be lucky if you're spreading yourself out. Everything pretty much went up. It's like if Warren Buffett would have stopped his and took out all his investments by the time he turned 60, once he turned 61, he started to grow faster and he would have walked away with 11 million. Now look at what he's worth. Yeah, I don't think he cares too much about that. He does the same thing, Rajiv. The risk is too high for him. He said the risk here is way too high, and he's playing a longer game. So he's not going to be calling tops. That's not his game. Me, I like to find those bottoms. I like to try to find tops. I think it's fun. He doesn't think that. He just wants to do things really slow. Fine. He's not trying to call tops. If you want that to be you someday, a bunch of people, well, you need to see the mega crash. Hell, I would settle for 11 million. I would take half and leave the rest for my whole life. Dig it though. It's a good day. Just a reminder that we will not be on Rumble later this afternoon. We will be live tomorrow morning on YouTube and tomorrow afternoon on Rumble, the same schedule. But today, I'm going to go have some fun at the zoo. I got to go see how big this hippo's gotten. They have a baby hippo there. And it's like 2 feet away from you. It's awesome. Just looks like a big ass wet tire. Exactly. You could probably find like a few dividend stocks and stuff like that. Yep. I don't know why. Something about hippos. Dope animal. The hippo? Oh, you scuba, Ruben. You do not know about the hippo? Oh, what a movie. Or grown men like, yes, this is it. I'm gonna go see all the aminals. I don't know how much longer of a game he's playing. Oh, that's rough, dude. You can't do that to our boy. Bitcoin doing the thing, man. Ah, yeah, it's a little bit more rigorous than I would like, but it's crypto. What are you gonna get? Daily scale. I would like that to turn up. This could take its time here. Really could. 2 hour could have a lot of time here, but the thing is, if news drops all of a sudden, it's like kaboom. This is the first area to watch. Q's got nowhere near it. That's why I'm worried about it. All you're going into is like a gap. Like I really don't like that. But the fact that people are still just shorting so heavily is insane to me. You like scuba, Ruben? No, I do not want to scuba. Oh, that's great. I think the CPI came out fan freaking tastic, to be totally honest. Stay humble. But just like your name suggests, does that mean I'm going to just throw money at the wall, or am I going to stay a little humble? Am I going to get cocky from yesterday, or am I going to make those good decisions? I'm glad I made those decisions. That was great money. That's great. Am I going to stay humble and be like, hey, yeah, we can still pull down further? Am I seeing things maybe curl back up at least? Am I seeing those reasons? But I think the CPI data was really good. I just think we might need to pull down a little bit more, like almost like an ABC for a 5 minute, just real quick. Kind of flag out right here. Maybe even confirm up a little bit and then just fall one more time, see it get out to here, and then everyone would be bearish going into Friday. I think a lot of people would be bearish going into Friday if you closed down today. Remember that volatility. One thing that I think we mentioned it last night, but one thing to mention, remember, volatility was down by 35%. That means we have a 85% chance for a down day today or tomorrow. So I kind of want that down day today, and then I don't want volatility to be up by 10% by the end of the day. But actually, I do want volatility to be down by, up by 10% by the end, because then that's saying the opposite. He made it before, right before the pop. Yeah, but I did actually, Richard. I watched because I wanted to see if he called it. He talked about downside way more than he talked about upside for the SPY. I don't know if I didn't watch the whole thing, but the section where he was covering the SPY, he was mainly just like, I don't see a situation the SPY goes up here. I think we have to go down pretty dramatically here first. And that's kind of what I saw. And I was just like, hey, that might be his strategies, the things that he utilizes. Maybe something was going not right there and he wasn't paying attention, right? He trades differently than us and he's going to be wrong at different times than us. But we don't technically know if he's right more than he's wrong. We just don't. I haven't you would say I haven't watched him enough. And the thing that I like to look for when I look for YouTubers is, you know, do they do things that actually help my trading? Do they show off things that actually help my trading? Oh, are they showing something that's different from my trading and I'm not the best at it and I'm doing kind of rough at this day trading thing. Maybe I need to look at someone who can do things differently and try them out, right? Is it actually helpful? Yo, Richard, I'm not gonna lie, I watch him pretty often now. It's I have fun with it. I will admit it. I watch him pretty often because it's pretty fun. And I like to stay updated with the 10. I love that 10. I don't read into the 10, but I like that 10. I'm sure everyone's going to be talking about 420 and posting that Time Magazine post soon. Watch. I'm calling it now. In the next week, by Sunday this week, you're going to see people start talking about the Time Magazine 420. Max volume 420. That's what I think is going to happen. Calling 440 for the SPY? That's just, well, but we have things that he doesn't look at, right? So that seems too crazy for us. But United Health looks a little high. Let's go take a look real quick. United Health. Oh, see, this is the worrisome thing. This is what I'm saying. See, this could have been the SPY. I don't like this. I really don't. I really don't like that really quick. I wouldn't like it for the SPY right now. I want the SPY to go down, right? I wanted this to throw up, maybe even fill that gap, show some of that volatility. Maybe take your time getting there. Then you kind of tighten up. You get a big move down and a bigger move up, kind of like a slingshot. But this, oof, that invites, oh yeah, we're heading up, right? Big move, medium move, small move. Uh-oh. Like, I don't like that. But you've gotten to extended levels to where just dipping down into here and pulling back and turning back up makes sense, right? Just a 30-minute or an hourly pullback goes like this, bam. Because look at that 30-minute. But it's just saying, this isn't something that I would be buying right now. That's the better way to put it, right? Is it an opportunity right now? Well, to me, no. Is it an opportunity to short right now? To me, no. Isn't that wild? Even though volatility is high, I'm still going to make good decisions. And this is a very good upward move. And if this would just flag out or see something like this for a second and turn up, hey, it's still going to squeeze. If I'm a day trader, maybe it's different. I'm talking about positioning for a downward move. It can be very good. You can risk to reward that bad boy. I get it. But I would just have a plan for if that goes wrong. But YS, you do your thing, right? Everyone makes decisions differently. I'm just talking about my mental process, right? I'm not trying to get you guys to do anything. I'm just giving you my mental process when looking at a chart. That's the big thing, right? You do what you want to do, but at the end of the day, I'm just here talking about the decisions I like to make in certain areas. Because YS, we disagree on a lot of stuff. You hate the memers. I think they're a lot of fun. Spike could consolidate and make a bull flag and then move up to right. That actually would be the best case scenario, I think. Oh, God, not the moon indicator again. Oh, I understand that, YS. I'm more just talking like you might see things I don't, right? 98% zone. It's a 68% zone, 95. So how we describe this, we actually did this over the weekend. If you want to get the full weekend video, go look back at Saturday's video. I'll find the thumbnail real quickly. The thumbnail for Saturday's video was 90%, 95% of the time this happens next. All right, go find that video. It is from, I believe, last Saturday. It says, don't make this mistake. 95% of the time this happens next. And this is what we were really talking about, these type of moves in here. But this is a 95% zone. The dotted line is 95. Okay, that's 95. So that means when everyone was yelling crash and we saw a reversal signal, we had a 95% chance to close back in here by the end of the month, and you see a reversal. That's what I look for. This is what we talk about all throughout the course, right? And then this is a 68% zone. So you've gotten back into the 68% zone, and that was my overall target really for the first sell, was do we get back into that zone? All right, so that's where taking profit makes sense because of weekly expected moves. But I calculate these using the options data. This is hard data. This isn't made up things, right? This is hard data using the options market, what they were expecting for this month. And so that's your 95. I highly encourage, if you want to learn about these type of things, and it's a very good thing to know, you're not going to see it often, but it is one of the best opportunities. That is why I was shouting it from the rooftops a million times. Thank you guys for liking that video and watching it. I really appreciate that, because that gets it to more people, and more people can understand maybe the media is kind of lying to me here. Maybe they're just calling a crash while things look bad. It's a very easy thing to do. It's very hard to be the crazy guy that goes, yeah, we're gonna scream higher, right? We're gonna go back up to here. So highly encourage it. It's a great video. It's proven to be a great video. It's my best performing video ever. So I'm glad that it landed. It's very different than how we talk about things, but I wanted to, in the midst of chaos, I wanted to try to make it simple for you. And that's what we did. We made it simple. And guess what? Simple works. Simple works. And sometimes you get that 1% moment when you do things correctly. Sometimes you get it and you get a little lucky. Because really, this probably would have taken its time to get in there a little bit more. So yeah, 95% line. We see that on the SPY. This is your 95% line. And we just gave that for Apple because Apple is down at that 95% line. So weirdly enough, this would say, yeah, Apple's turning down. It's going through something crazy. This would be extremely risky. If China never does any changes that is good for America, this is going to be really bad for Apple. This is really risky. So do you think people are going to take calls? No. But if you see this go down to here and you just know the percentages and you're good at managing the position size to where it's not going to absolutely crush you if this thing kept going down, okay, then you just go, outside of a 95% zone, we're going to come back in that by the end of the month. Okay, 68% zone. Oh, we're going to come back into that maybe, 68% chance to get back into that by the end of the month. Right? That's how we look for these things. And then what we also look for are just reversal signals, right? And so what did Apple have? It had a reversal signal. Bam. It was experiencing a 1% moment. The momentum to the downside died. It curled up and boom. That's great stuff. Now, it's very probable to get a 15-minute pullback. I mean, look at this MACD. You even have 5-minute divergence. Okay, 15-minute, 30-minute pullback. But where would we pay attention? I like right here. I like this zone. Right? We'll pay attention right here, but I'm saying an opportunity to me would be here. We see some kind of vomit, something bad about China, and then we just absolutely do something, and then China reacts. And what you're saying is, if China reacts, well, Apple is going to probably boom by 20% all of a sudden. If China doesn't react, they're probably not going to boom by 20%, okay? It's more of a risk to reward type of deal. How do you come up with the 95% line? You calculate the weekly expected or the monthly expected move. You calculate the expected move, and then you calculate the second standard deviation. We discuss more about these moves, by the way, in the course, right? We use the bell curve to really discuss what these things are. These type of moves right here. We really go through it to help you understand what it is, and then we overall just say, how can I use it? How can I use it is mainly what it is, right? How can it be helpful to me is the focus in the full technical analysis one. What is your new swing trading course? Swing trading is just something very simple to get you a basic understanding of like MACD positioning, RSI center line, price action, moving averages, things like that. Confirmations for a simple swing trade. Those type of things are in the swing trading course. It's very, very basic. But if you're still green and you enjoy learning and you think that maybe there's something helpful in there, it's only $50 for that, right? You can literally get both courses for $250. That's crazy to me. But it's not crazy to me because I did that on purpose, even though my dad and his buddies, all his, rich buddies, they say, why the hell wouldn't you charge 2 grand? I go, because that's not what I'm trying to do here. I make enough money. I'm good. I just want it to suffice enough payment for my time. And then I want it to be very helpful to someone. And it's not very helpful if I charge 2 grand and you only have 10 grand. I just took 20% of your money. That's not what I want to do. But we're seeing here that the SPY is curled down on the 15-minute chart. We are seeing that Apple as well is curling down still. So we'll be watching. This could get interesting very, very fast. No, so we're thinking about, it's not 98%, first of all. It's 68%. That one we talk about consistently. We talk about the weekly expected moves consistently. The 95% is something that I'm actually going to potentially add to the course, but you just don't see it often, Onda. So Onda, you don't see things get outside of a 95% zone. I don't think we've seen that. We have not seen that in the SPY in the whole time I've had this channel. We have not seen it. The whole time I've had this channel, I don't think we've ever gotten outside of a 95% line on the SPY or the Qs. So it's not the most helpful thing to talk about. But now that we've seen it and people can see it and I got to talk about it a lot, I'm going, okay, this would be just something to have in the back of your mind. Yeah, Onda. It's a good thing to have in the back of your mind. But a lot of that goes with, a lot of that goes with position sizing, position management. Risk management with position size. And I know risk management is freaking lame, right? People are like, ew, gross, but that's what separates people. If you're good at that, you put yourself probably above, I would say 90% of traders. And Amazon curling down. Let's go check on Amazon real quick because we don't have too much time left. Remember, 30-minute pullback is still kind of what I'm looking for. I really think that this move could happen. But understand, that would be another 1% moment for the day. That would be another 1% moment to see Amazon come down to 174.50, to see the SPY come down to this 95% line, to see the Qs come down to this type of breakout area towards 424. Those things would all be 1% moments. So I'm more going to pay attention to this. Bam, right there. Anytime that the Qs get to here, I want to start to pay attention. Maybe the 5-minute gives me a little hint. That would be very, very nice of it. What'd Willow say? Wait. As the world's two biggest economies face off in trade, a Chinese diplomat shared a video of former leader Mao Zedong and declared that Chinese people don't back down. Well, you don't have to back down. You don't have to. You don't have to back down. That's how I think about it with China. Okay, where's your revenue going to fully come from if everyone is reacting to the United States, but you're not? It's like the iPhone comes out and you're still going to sell flip phones. And I know I'm not talking about a technology thing. I'm just talking about the behavior there. It's just not. I don't think it's intelligent for them to piss off the people that buy probably the most stuff from Shein and Temu and crap. I don't think that's a very smart business move. I've ran a business. It's not smart. It would be smart. Oh, we do care about our American consumer, so we might start like a couple production facilities in America, and we'll take down the tariff a little bit. We can't reduce it down to 0, but we could maybe reduce it down to 20%. What do you think about that, President Trump? Right? If you're willing to work, then Trump will give room. If you piss him off, you're not going to get room. Oh God. Wall Street Wonder, I don't know. I don't watch Jackie enough. He does things completely differently than me. So I think that's why I've watched him before. I usually turn him on when he was like doing, music or something, and my daughter liked the little spinny guy he would put on. But I haven't watched him for like months and months and months. When I stopped watching him was here. This is when I stopped watching him. Okay, and I wasn't watching him like a ton. I was watching him. I'd turn him on like once a month, once a week or something, just because I thought he was entertaining. But this is when I completely said, yeah, I'm not even going to give him a view. I don't think that it's very good. But, he might be doing things good. It's just I don't think he would be good for my style. Let's put it that way, right? I don't want to talk badly about people when you never know. But this is a 2-hour that confirmed. And around this area, he kept telling his people, it's going to squeeze, it's going to squeeze, it's going to squeeze, when this is pointed down. And that's just blatantly incorrect. This is divergence at the high when nobody thought that it could drop down. I said, watch out. This has divergence here. This has daily divergence at the high as well, I believe. So, not trying to talk badly about people, just suggesting that's why I don't even give him a view anymore. But if he's helping you, that's great. That's fantastic. And GME is doing great stuff. Able to violate divergence soon. Fantastic. But I appreciate you being here. And I need to actually I don't need to learn the style that he does, because some of the stuff I was just like, yeah, I just don't need to. I'm in both discords and we say both of your guys' hypothetical situations almost line up, then I definitely take the play. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, cool. See, that's what I'm saying. On the inside, it could be totally different. Wall Street Wonder. On the inside, it could be totally different. That's why I'm hesitant to be like, but as far as a free video goes, I don't know if it's the most helpful, but I also don't watch it enough. I do like Arit Trading. Thank you guys for bringing him up. I was vetting him. I'm going to try over the next 5 years to turn this into a full finance channel where we get other people to come speak and things like that. I think that would be fantastic. Get their opinions. I'm glad that's working out for you, Wall Street Wonder. That's awesome. Are we in a bear market? Really checking to see if we are, and we still have to go make new lows to set up a divergence. As of right now, people could consider this the possible bear market, right? You might have heard some people call it out. How I look at this is not the behavior of a bear market, really. It's really not. I mean, all you have to do is go back here. This is the bear market, right? And it would be more so if it continued. That would be my overall opinion, right? If it overall continued. We're down lower than this, but I just don't see it right now. Something is off. And, sometimes it's just down to that gut, and you're just like, something is off. But if you were going to do bear market behavior, then the next push would be the one to pay attention. The next daily push is what you pay attention to. This is overall how we get confirmation of a bear market, in my opinion, would be we have lost critical levels. So bear market is definitely there. It's definitely on the table. But the next push higher will matter. If that next push goes higher and we completely fail that, then I think you're going bear market. If the next push goes higher and we end up seeing this go up to new all-time highs, you're not in a bear market. And I'm sad to say that that's the best way to dictate it. It's just, do you make a lower high? Do you make a lower high that then goes negative and loses key levels and breaks through this low? Hey, be expecting volatility to stick around for even longer. I think there are still risks here. I think you're at the point where bear market can definitely be on your mind, and you could be in one right now. But as of right now, you want to see if this is going to behave like a bear market, then we should see a 2-hour turn down. That's the facts. If we're going to see this be a bear market, then you should see the 2-hour turn down before we actually see that daily move. So if this happens, we're going to seriously be paying attention to this daily move. If this is not going to behave like a bear market, then you might just curl up. That would be a better sign. Still means that the danger is there, but it also adds to, hey, we're making higher lows and we're not dipping down to sweep those lows again on a 2-hour. So Jonathan, okay, I'm starting to read what you're saying here. If we retest and then resume negative price. Exactly. So the resuming, right? There's too much pent-up bearishness now that can cause what you would call a bear market rally. But normally you need bigger momentum to die off first. This is more like a news-driven big drop and then a news-driven big pop if things end up clearing themselves up. If you get a news-driven pop and then something breaks in the system, you get a news-driven pop and everyone stops doing things with the US. Those things will be more of the problem, in my opinion. Thanks for the $5, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Good conversation there. Would you say the SPY and the QQQ have a monthly divergence? It's on the RSI by MACD. Are you talking negative? Because if you're talking negative, then you are correct. It's not necessarily on the MACD, right? But you do have it on the RSI. So this is where it's very worrisome. But I still think we need that moment for some kind of blow off type of moment. And I know this looks like a blow off kind of moment, but the moves that Trump is doing right now, if he pulls it off, can cause this to surge. And you could almost see this. Look at the weekly scale. See how that's by the center line? This could literally last for the shortest amount of time. It really can. You literally could do this and then fail, going into May. Right? Maybe people price in rate cuts, price in rate cuts, price in rate cuts. Once they actually happen, ooh, tips over, right? That's how fast this thing could be done. So what are we going to watch? Well, we're going to watch for daily divergences if we can even do that. Because once again, I think Jonathan's right to point out, we are extremely down. And if you start to reject more and more, you start to go, ooh, we reject again? It's looking like bear market behavior. Any discounts? I think everything's on a discount. Just look at the overall numbers, man. I mean, everything's on a discount from down here, and from up here, and people were buying at the highs. So depends on how you look at it. I like to look for confirmation first, or at least the risk to reward to be there first. Is the risk to reward there? Maybe for a day trader, it might be, right? You can look at like a 5-minute, and you go, okay, not a lot to go off of, right? What could happen here? Hey, we go down to these levels. Ooh, we go like this. We go like this. That would be bearish. This would be bearish. But this would be, ooh, pretty bullish, right? You have to wipe out signals. You need to see that high taken out. You need to see that just scream up to the gap fill, in my opinion. Right now, you're in pullback mode still. Yeah, I didn't necessarily like the tweet from Donald Trump, to be totally honest. Not the second one, the first one, the one that said like it's a great day to buy. Like that's not a good move. I like the other tweet. I like the tweet about how China screwing USA over, and they're just going to try to screw over other countries to get their way because their economy depends on it. I like that, calling them out. Someone in the chat saying it's almost like he flipped the world against China, and I was like, yeah, it's very, very interesting. But now China can go visit those countries and things like that. So if it's Eric running the account, I don't know. What's up, Jay? Say, how's it going? Most probable thing was pullback, and we're pulling back. Very nice. We're at the first levels to pay attention. We're about to get to the first levels, really, that I like, but daily expected move, we're outside of it. It would be nice to just not see another big move until Monday. Clamp down on the IV for a couple of days. But VIX up 17% now. 2 hour confirms, we get a little more worried. 30-minute going up, that's fine. We could react all the way to 48.50. That would bring you all the way back down, potentially to 502. We crash over the weekend. I think anything can happen. As of right now, you've seen elevated levels, and now it's looking pretty good. So guys, I do have to hop off for the day right here. I do appreciate you guys being here this morning. Let's just watch for traps, watch for tricks, make sure that you have your plan in place for if things are going right or wrong. It's very, very important. Very, very important to watch those, okay? See if those plans are going wrong. It doesn't mean that another trade setup can't set up in a week or something like that. Even if it goes your way and you manage risk and then it ends up proving you right and you go, damn, I wish I would have held that. This is all about making the best decision for you at the right times with what you're seeing in front of you. And so if something's making you uncomfortable, don't think that you would have sat there and held through it and been dandy the whole time. Okay, this is something that's very key. It's just understanding that you are in complete control. You control when to hit the buttons, and that's awesome because you can make those type of decisions based on these probabilities that we give you every single day. It's very, very cool. So thank you guys for being a part of this community. Thank you guys for showing up on YouTube. We won't have the Rumble stream today in the afternoon, but we will have the regular schedule tomorrow, and I will try to put out a YouTube video tonight. I think I will have time to do so. All right, guys. Have a good one. It's Zoo Day, baby. It's Zoo Day, baby. Let's go. All right, guys. Have a great day. All right. Have a great day. Great day. Great day. That's the important part. And if I see anything interesting, I'll still keep my eye on stock. So Patreon members, I will be keeping my eye on stuff. You might get some screenshots from my cell phone if I see anything interesting. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Peace. No, Willow today. Willow, this is bullshit. I should just go leave it on so you guys can hang out there or something. But peace.